The life and times of Jesus Christ, who lived from approximately 4 BC to 30 AD, were marked by extraordinary social, political, and cultural developments in the region of Judea and beyond. To gain a comprehensive understanding of this era, we will explore various facets of daily life, including the socio-political environment, religious beliefs, cultural practices, economic conditions, family life, and more. By painting a vivid picture of this time, we hope to bring forth a clearer image of the world in which Jesus lived and spread his teachings. The historical context: Roman occupation. During Jesus' lifetime, Judea was under Roman rule. The Roman Empire, at its height, spanned much of Europe, North Africa, and parts of Asia. The annexation of Judea into the Roman Empire came about in 63 BC, when General Pompey captured Jerusalem. By the time of Jesus' ministry, Judea was a troubled province grappling with Roman taxation, oppression, and the imposition of foreign laws. Life under Roman rule included a complex relationship between the local Jewish population and their Roman governors. The presence of Roman soldiers, who were often despised as occupiers, meant that tensions were high. The populace lived under strict curfews and regulations, often facing heavy taxes which funded the Roman military and administration. Local governance. To manage the local population, the Romans appointed a local king, Herod the Great. Although he ruled with great authority, he was known for his ambitious building projects, including the renovation of the Second Temple in Jerusalem. However, his reign was also marked by brutality, including the execution of political rivals and even members of his own family. After Herod's death in 4 BC, the kingdom was divided among his sons, leading to instability and unrest. The Romans appointed governors, such as Pontius Pilate, who governed with an iron fist and were often met with resistance from the Jewish people. This political tension set the stage for the social unrest which characterized the society during the time of Jesus. The social structure: class divisions. Ancient Judean society was highly stratified. Wealth and status played significant roles in determining one's place in society. The society was essentially divided into 3 main classes. The elite. This group included the priests, landowners, and wealthy merchants. The elite held significant power both in the religious and political spheres. They often collaborated with the Romans to maintain their status. The common people. The majority of the population fell into this category. These included farmers, laborers, artisans, and traders who lived simple lives often characterized by subsistence farming. They were heavily taxed and had to navigate the demands of the elite and the Romans. The marginalized. This group consisted of the poor, the sick, and social outcasts, such as lepers and tax collectors, who were often viewed with disdain. Jesus' ministries often focused on this group, emphasizing compassion and healing. Women's roles. The role of women in first-century Judea was largely domestic. They were primarily responsible for managing the household, raising children, and fulfilling duties related to family and community life. Women had limited legal rights and were often treated as property. However, some women held significant influence, especially in religious contexts. Women played pivotal roles in the early church, and the Gospels recount numerous accounts of women who followed Jesus, supported his ministry, and were key witnesses to his resurrection. Figures like Mary Magdalene and the Syrophoenician woman illustrate the diverse roles women had in society and the religious life of the time. Religious life, Jewish traditions. Judaism was, and remains, an ancient monotheistic religion rooted in the covenant between God and the Hebrew people. The laws outlined in the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible, governed every aspect of life, including religious observance, moral conduct, and communal living. Key rituals included offerings at the temple, observance of the Sabbath, and annual festivals such as Passover, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot. The Temple in Jerusalem. The Temple in Jerusalem was the center of Jewish worship and social life. It was a place for sacrifices, prayer, and communal gatherings. Pilgrimages to the temple were common during major festivals, creating a vibrant atmosphere filled with worshipers from various regions. Jesus often challenged the practices within the temple, criticizing commercial activities and calling for a return to genuine worship. His actions, like cleansing the temple, marked him as a controversial figure within religious circles. The synagogue. Besides the temple, synagogues served as local hubs for worship, education, and community gathering. They were crucial venues for teaching, where Jesus often preached, engaging with the local population. The synagogues played a vital role in daily life, particularly in smaller towns. Daily life and culture, occupations and economy. The economy during Jesus' time was primarily agrarian. Most people were farmers who cultivated staple crops like wheat, barley, grapes, and olives. Livestock, including sheep and goats, were also common, providing meat, milk, and wool. Trade flourished in towns with various craftspeople, such as blacksmiths, potters, and weavers, producing goods for local consumption and trade. Fishing was another important occupation, particularly in the region surrounding the Sea of Galilee. Food and diet. The diet of ordinary people primarily consisted of bread, fish, vegetables, legumes, and olives. Meat was a luxury, usually reserved for special occasions. Meals were often communal and taken at home or in shuttered courtyards. The tradition of hospitality was deeply embedded in Jewish culture. Sharing food was seen as a form of fellowship. The clothing of the time was functional and made from locally sourced materials. Men typically wore tunics with sashes, while women wore longer tunics that covered their arms and legs. Sandals were the common footwear. Wealthier individuals adorned themselves with more elaborate garments made from fine linen or wool. While life was often challenging due to labor and societal pressures, leisure also found its place in day-to-day existence. Festivals, often tied to religious observances, brought communities together for celebration, song, dance, and feasts. Storytelling was a cherished tradition, and public gatherings allowed for the sharing of news and entertainment. Interactions with other cultures. Greco-Roman influence. The influence of Greco-Roman culture was evident in Judea. Hellenistic thought, art, and practices gradually permeated society. This interaction led to a degree of cultural exchange. Yet, it also created tension, especially among Jewish leaders who opposed the dilution of traditional practices. Samaritan relations. The Samaritans, who lived in the region north of Judea, had a distinct cultural and religious identity. Hostility existed between Jews and Samaritans, stemming from historical grievances. Jesus' parable of the Good Samaritan served as a profound lesson on compassion, transcending cultural and religious barriers. Jesus' life and impact. Early life. Jesus was born in Bethlehem, raised in Nazareth, and came from a humble background as the son of a carpenter. Little is known about his childhood, but traditional Jewish teachings would have shaped his early years. By the age of 30, Jesus began his public ministry, gathering disciples and preaching about the kingdom of God. Jesus' teachings emphasized love, mercy, and forgiveness. He challenged the status quo, critiquing religious leaders and calling for a radical reformation of spiritual life. His parables conveyed profound moral lessons in relatable terms that resonated with common people. Miracles attributed to Jesus, such as healing the sick, feeding the hungry, and even raising the dead, captured the attention of many. These acts communicated his divine authority and love for humanity, fostering a sense of hope among the marginalized and oppressed. Jesus' growing influence and the challenge to religious authorities eventually led to his arrest and crucifixion. Rome viewed him as a potential threat to political stability, and the Jewish leaders saw him as a blasphemer. The crucifixion remains a pivotal moment in history, symbolizing sacrifice and redemption in Christian faith. The life of Jesus in first-century Judea was intertwined with the greater socio-political and cultural context of the time. Understanding life in Jesus' time unveils the complexities faced by ordinary people, highlighting their struggles, resilience, and faith. Jesus' teachings continue to resonate, compelling people across generations to reflect on love, compassion, and justice. The world he lived in, with its challenges and cultural richness, has shaped the course of human history and remains a profound testament to the enduring impact of one life lived fully. As we explore the myriad aspects of life during this era, we realize that the teachings and experiences of Jesus transcend time, encouraging each of us to embrace the shared humanity that binds us across cultures and ages.